Hi, my name is Shari Andress, and I'm the National Education Coordinator for Gigi's Playhouse. Gigi's Playhouse is the only international network of Down syndrome achievement centers created to provide free, life-changing, therapeutic, and educational programs for all areas of development and for the unique needs of individuals with Down syndrome. With 55 locations across the US and in Mexico, a demand to open 200 more, and Gigi's at Home programming serving families virtually in more than 70 countries, Gigi's Playhouse is on a mission to change the way the world views Down syndrome and to send a global message of acceptance for all. We offer a lifetime commitment from prenatal diagnosis through career skills to empower families with all the tools their child needs to succeed. Learn more about us at gigisplayhouse.org. And now, a few words from Nancy Gianni, our founder and chief belief officer.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here. My name is Nancy Gianni, and I am the founder and chief belief officer at Gigi's Playhouse Down Syndrome Achievement Centers. And of course, I am also the Gigi's mom. I would like to thank the World Down Syndrome Congress for inviting us to share our How I Learn presentation. It's an honor and a privilege to speak to such an amazing international group. Did you know that Gigi's is now serving families in over 70 countries with our free programs? Talk about a COVID silver lining. We feel so blessed to not only have the opportunity to reach so many people with our programs, but to also spread our global message of acceptance for all. Everyone deserves a chance to learn and thrive in this world. We're so excited to share information with you about teaching individuals with Down syndrome and how important it is to teach people the way that they learn. When you do that, the results are truly incredible.
How I Learn is a 7-minute video that demonstrates how to teach individuals with Down syndrome the way they learn best. Knowing how to interact and teach individuals with Down syndrome in these ways will help us all become better teachers, mentors, and friends. Please keep that in mind as we walk you through the 8 strategies you should know when you're teaching, playing, or working with an individual with Down syndrome. One of the first things we want everyone to know is that we always see ability and we set expectations high. We know that some things are more difficult for people with Down syndrome, but I also know that when I have really high expectations, they always achieve more. I remember telling one of my daughter's teachers, my daughter is very happy to rise to your low expectations, but if you can set them higher, she will be just as happy to rise to your high expectations. At the end of the school year, that teacher commented that my daughter could do so much more than she thought she ever could. Nancy would say, I tell all my new parents that the harder we are on our kids, the stronger they will be. Sometimes that's not easy with their adorable little faces and their impeccable manipulation skills. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. But we tend to give in to them. But if we hold firm and give them the time and the tactics to do it on their own, we will set them up for a remarkable success and consequently a remarkable life. At Gigi's Playhouse, we help individuals with Down syndrome reach their highest potential by focusing on their best of all every day. Best of all is doing just a little better than you did the day before, and it's always celebrated. That can mean reading one more word every day, or practicing 5 more math problems every day, or walking an extra block or an extra mile. Challenging yourself to be a little better every day is a great way to improve in all you do. This is a great strategy for everyone. We all know that individuals with Down syndrome are more like typical peers than not. They just need people like us to educate, inspire, and believe in them. We treat every person with respect, and we always use people first language. This just means that you say the person's name first and then the diagnosis. For example, you might say Gigi is a person who has Down syndrome. We are all unique and we all learn in different ways. We have some things that we like things we don't, things we think are interesting, things we don't think are interesting. We also have different ways of taking in and storing information. When working with individuals with Down syndrome, it's important to find out what makes them who they are. When teaching, we always use multisensory and a multimodal approach. This is just a fancy way to say that we engage all the senses and teach in a variety of ways. Don't be surprised if you walk into a playhouse and you find tutors and students engaged in a relay race as they're matching words, or counting steps as they walk across the floor, or finding words in a container full of pasta. Repetition without repetition means you can practice the same skill with many different activities. This not only helps our learners with Down syndrome learn that skill, it also helps them learn to generalize that skill. Hypotonia or low muscle tone is very common in individuals with Down syndrome. Hypotonia affects every muscle in their bodies, and it affects learning on several levels. From the time they're born, they are constantly teaching their bodies to do the simple things in life that come naturally to most of us, like walking, talking, eating, and reading. It also impacts speech clarity. Did you know that it takes around 100 muscles to speak? Did you also know that reading out loud is a way to exercise those muscles and help our individuals with Down syndrome improve their speech clarity? In general, individuals with Down syndrome need to be stronger so they can accomplish the same tasks as people without Down syndrome or without low tone. To imagine what this is like, think about trying to write your name or tie your shoes or cook dinner with oven mitts or bulky gloves on. You could learn to do it, but it would take you longer and it would require more repetition and more practice to do it correctly. This is why we work so hard to incorporate gross and fine motor into all our activities. A lifelong fitness program for babies to adults is facilitated in our GG Fit programs. GG Fit was designed by Dr. Sarah Mann specifically to address the unique needs of individuals with Down syndrome. It is designed to meet every fitness level at every age and help our individuals with Down syndrome get strong enough to pursue their goals. One of the most effective ways to present information is to use visuals and clear instructions. We know the pathway from the eyes to the brain is stronger than the pathway from the ears to the brain. I like to remember the phrase, show more, talk less, to guide me when I'm working with a learner with Down syndrome. Information that is presented visually stays available for you as long as you need to process it. We all use visuals to help us through our day. For our learners with Down syndrome, visuals are essential. Using a visual guide, a schedule, a choice board, or a to-do list will allow them to be more independent. When I give my 21-year-old daughter with Down syndrome a to-do list, she's able to complete the tasks on her own in the right order, and it builds her confidence and it makes her feel like an adult. She doesn't really want her mom to be telling her what to do anymore because she's 21. She is an adult. When she was little, we used a visual schedule to help her learn how to get ready for school independently. I created a picture board and put all the tasks she needed to do on it. And then as we would get to each of the tasks, I would just point to it and she would pull it off and she would go do it. So maybe she'd pull it off, she'd go eat her breakfast. Then she would come back and she liked to put them in my pocket. So she'd put it in my pocket and then she'd pull off the next tab. And that would be maybe brush your teeth. So she'd go brush her teeth, put it back. You kind of get the idea, right? So we started doing this because I was getting tired of hearing myself nag at her to do this, do that, do this, do that. And so she used these pictures, and in about only 2 weeks, she was able to get ready for school without even using the visuals. Like, it was so amazing to me how much these visuals helped her learn that routine on her own, created the confidence, and then she was getting ready for school independently every day. Individuals with Down syndrome are often literal learners. They literally learn everything we teach them. They can literally learn anything. So please remember that. But also remember to be clear and concise with instructions. Use positive language to tell them what you want them to do. For example, if they are not sitting properly and you would like them to, don't say something like, "You know how to sit better than that. What are you doing?" Say this, "Please sit up and put your feet on the floor." And giving them clear and concise directions and instructions helps them to know exactly what you want them to do. And almost always, the results are a lot better. Literal learners also need information presented in a way that promotes errorless learning. Errorless learning is a teaching strategy where the instructions are explicit and concise, and they leave little to no room for mistakes. We want to make sure that we teach a concept thoroughly before we ask for an answer. This promotes confidence and a healthy learning experience. We use a technique called matching, selecting, and naming that was created by Patricia Olwine to teach whole words in our literacy program. We start by matching one word to a one picture, one word card. This makes it very easy for the student to be successful. Then we move to selecting in a field of 2 and then a field of 3. You can see here that Yessie is able to match in a field of 3, but if she struggles here, I can easily remove one of the choices to bring it back down to 2. And that's how we call it data-driven. We use the responses that we get from our student to determine what action we're going to take next. But helping her to always pick the right answer builds confidence, and we found that the learning happens a lot faster. The tutor would say, "This one is brown. Can you match brown to brown?" and hand her the word card. So she would take the word card brown and match it with the other word brown. You can see how this incorporates visuals and clear and concise instructions. Also, it's totally multisensory. She's seeing it, she's hearing it, she's touching it, and she's moving. Breaking things down into small, manageable steps is really important for our students. Archer and Hughes outlined an approach we use in all our teaching at Gigi's Playhouse. I do, we do, you do. First, we show the student what we're going to do. I do. Then we do it together, giving only as much assistance as needed. You do. And when they are ready, we invite them to do it themselves. You do. We use these phrases to help keep us on track when we're teaching. First, watch me. Now let's do it together. Can you try it? I asked an adult with Down syndrome once what her teachers did that helped her the most when she was in high school. Without even blinking, she responded, "They would take those big things and break them down into steps for me and just teach them to me a little bit at a time. And that helped me so much." When we're teaching reading, we teach using words and examples that are meaningful and relevant to the learner. We adapt all our teaching to incorporate the interests of our participants. You can read about anything and you can count anything. Using our multisensory approach, we often include movement, games, music, favorite characters from movies or shows, sports, or anything our learners get excited about. Whenever you're having difficulty teaching a learner with Down syndrome, stop and think, what would this student be doing right now if they could be doing anything they wanted? And then take that activity or idea and wrap it into whatever you're doing. Let's say the student loves horses. You can learn to read words that have to do with horses. You can count how many horses there are in the field. You can multiply by 4 to see how many horseshoes there are altogether. You can create a token system so that when they have earned enough certain number of tokens, they can go for a visit to their favorite stable. You get the idea. Bringing in the horses helps them focus, and we all know that our best learning happens when our student is interested and focused and engaged. Behavior is a form of communication. Sometimes doing something is easier than saying something. Sometimes a person might use a behavior to get out of a situation. They may walk away instead of saying they just don't like it. They may start to do something else because they don't understand the expectations and they don't know how to ask for help. Spend time getting to know a person so you can start to understand what they are saying with their behavior, and then help them learn to communicate using their words. Asking for help is an advocacy skill that doesn't come naturally to everyone. At Gigi's, we know it is empowering for an individual to ask for the help they need. Don't always jump right in and give them help. Give them the opportunity to figure it out first or ask for help. When asking for a response, remember that individuals with Down syndrome have to work harder to retrieve information that is stored. When you watch this video, you'll hear Farzine say, "Wait for it, wait for it." And I have to tell you, I hear that in my brain every time I'm waiting. After you ask a question, allow time for information to be processed and a response to be generated. Sometimes when I'm waiting, I literally have to count in my head to keep myself quiet. It's really hard to wait while somebody is not talking for 7 to 10 seconds. Didn't that seem like a long time? How many of you checked to make sure the sound was still working on your computer, right? It's a long time. It's hard to wait. But I promise that if you do, and you give people that time for a response, you're going to be amazed at all of the things they can share with you. The other thing you should know is that if you keep repeating the question, because that processing time, when it starts, if you keep repeating the question, every time you repeat the question, I should say, it restarts the process. So you should limit the number of times that you ask the question. Sometimes you do have to ask the question again, but make sure you've waited a long enough time in between. Remember that visuals can be really helpful here too, because as long as they can see it, it stays there for them to process. So sometimes we practice answering questions by writing them down so that there is a visual cue of what the question is while I'm trying to process it. Allowing time for an internal rehearsal is essential. When you see a person with Down syndrome actively observing, know that they are processing the situation, and when they feel confident, they will get up and join. You will see this when you watch the How I Learn video. The young man was watching his friends dance. You can totally see him thinking about it, and then slowly he starts to move and he gets up and dances. This is my favorite part of the video. It was totally spontaneous. It was not even part of the planned script, and yet they captured it so beautifully, how he was doing that internal rehearsal, figuring out how to respond and doing it. At Gigi's Playhouse, we have designed purposeful programming for all ages with one underlying current: promoting independence. We know adults with Down syndrome are living longer, but did you know that the leading cause of death for adults with Down syndrome is Alzheimer's? We need to counteract that, and the best way to do that is to keep them moving and keep them healthy with the Gigi University philosophy of confident you, healthy you, whole you. We all know if you don't use it, you lose it, especially for individuals with Down syndrome. That's why it's more important than ever that these individuals use their brains, use their bodies, and use that confidence to continually build themselves up. When our kids are little, it's easier to work with them, make sure they get to therapies, do their homework, but as they get older, it gets harder for a lot of reasons. We really want parents and teachers to understand how important it is for kids and students to become independent so that they can keep moving and working when they're older and do it independently without anyone helping them. Our approach to teaching at Gigi's Playhouse is simple. We set expectations high and create individual adaptations to help each student achieve their highest potential and move towards independence. We work on purposeful progressions and not developmental milestones, and every win is celebrated. Thank you so much for listening to our How I Learn presentation today. You will find a 7-minute video and a PDF with all this information at gigisplayhouse.org, How I Learn. Please go there, watch it, and pass it on.